believe that art is an expression of the self. We look at the paintings in the Louvre or the murals of Pompeii, and we see culture, we see imagination. But when we look at the rock art of our most distant ancestors, we assume they were simple. We are told they were drawing hunting scenes or dancing shamans or the hallucinations of a trance. We are told that these stick figures, scratched into the varnish of the desert rock 10,000 years ago, are just the primitive doodles of a mind that did not yet understand the world. But this is a lie. Because this figure, this specific bizarre squatting man, is not local. It is not a style. It is everywhere. From the canyons of Arizona to the mountains of Armenia, from the deserts of Arabia to the jungles of South America. Ancient cultures, separated by thousands of miles of ocean and thousands of years of silence, all drew the exact same thing. They drew the squatting legs, they drew the upraised arms, and most impossibly, they all drew the two mysterious dots right here, under the ribs. How? How does a Stone Age tribe in Tucson draw the exact same hallucination as a tribe in the Tyrolean Alps? The official story calls it a coincidence, a universal archetype of the human mind. But today, on 0 Point Lore, we are going to present a different theory, a forbidden theory. What if they weren't drawing a human at all? What if they were drawing a screen? What if the sky above their heads 10,000 years ago didn't look like ours? What if the squatter man is not a person, but a picture of the end of the world? To understand the message on the rock, we must first leave the desert and enter the most secure, high-tech physics laboratory on Earth, the Los Alamos National Laboratory, the birthplace of the atomic bomb. Meet Dr. Anthony Peratt. He is not an archaeologist, he is not an art historian, and he is certainly not a conspiracy theorist. Dr. Peratt is one of the world's leading physicists, a specialist in high-energy discharge plasma. He spent his career studying what happens when you pump millions of volts of electricity through a cloud of gas. In the universe, 99% of all visible matter is plasma. It is an electrically charged gas. And when electricity flows through plasma, it does not move in a straight line. It organizes itself. It creates distinct geometric shapes. We call them Z-pinches or Bennett pinches. As the current increases, the column of plasma begins to buckle. It warps. It creates instabilities. In 2003, Dr. Peratt was analyzing the data from high-energy experiments. He was looking at the shapes formed by a 50 trillion watt discharge. And then he saw it. The plasma column, under extreme electrical stress, formed a stack of toroids, donuts of energy. From the side, it looked like a stick figure, with a head, with arms raised, and with legs squatting. Peratt was stunned. He took his laboratory data, the hard physics of nuclear fusion research, and he laid it next to the field reports of archaeologists. The match was perfect, but it wasn't just the shape, it was the details. Remember the two dots, the mysterious spots under the arms that appear in petroglyphs all over the world. In plasma physics, this is a known phenomenon. It is called synchrotron radiation. At the point of highest constriction, the plasma becomes so dense, so hot, that it emits two intense beams of X-rays, appearing as two bright, glowing spots, exactly where the ribs of the squatter man would be. The ancient artists were not drawing a dancer's costume. They were drawing a high-energy synchrotron radiation release event. This is the fracture point. You cannot hallucinate a Z-pinch instability. You cannot accidentally imagine a synchrotron radiation point. These are precise mathematical forms that only exist under conditions of extreme electromagnetic stress. Dr. Peratt's conclusion, published in the Transactions on Plasma Science, was terrifying. He concluded that the petroglyphs are not art. They are records. They are eyewitness accounts of a time when the Earth's sky was on fire. So, what happened? We have explored the Younger Dryas cataclysm on this channel. The Great Flood, the sudden melting of the ice caps, but we have always asked, what triggered it? The electric universe theory suggests that our solar system is not an electrically neutral void. It is a circuit, and sometimes the circuit overloads. Imagine a solar flare, a coronal mass ejection, but 1,000 times stronger than anything we have seen in recorded history. Or perhaps a connection with a passing interstellar cloud. The Earth's magnetic field, our shield, is overwhelmed. The plasma from the sun breaks through the poles, but it doesn't just glow, it connects. A massive interplanetary lightning bolt, a column of plasma thousands of miles high, connecting the Earth to the upper atmosphere. It would have been visible from every single point on the planet. It would have roared like 1 billion trumpets. It would have outshined the sun. And as the current surged, the column would have begun to dance. It would have morphed. It would have twisted. It would have formed the ladder, the hourglass. And then, as the instability reached its peak, the squatter man. Imagine you are a Stone Age human. You have no concept of electricity, no concept of plasma physics. You look up and you see a titan made of fire, standing in the heavens, dominating the world. What do? You fall to your knees. You worship it. And when the terror finally ends, you grab a rock and you carve what you saw. You carve it deep. You carve it everywhere, so that your children and their children will never forget the face of the god that almost ate the world. This explains the squatter man, but it explains so much more. Look at the weapons of the gods. Zeus holds a thunderbolt, but it doesn't look like a zigzag line. It looks like a twisted, knotty flower. Indra holds the Vajra, a strange double-headed scepter. These do not look like tools, but they look exactly like the later stages of a plasma instability. Was the thunderbolt of the gods a metaphor, or was it a literal description? Did the ancients see these shapes writhing in the sky, striking the earth, melting glaciers, and vaporizing forests? Dr. Peratt's work suggests that the entire pantheon of ancient mythology, the wars in the heavens, the dragons breathing fire, the pillars of light, are all just different phases of one single catastrophic electrical event. But there is one final piece of evidence, the most chilling of all. Dr. Peratt didn't just look at the shapes, he looked at the orientation. He found that the most complex, most detailed petroglyphs are almost always found in locations with a clear view of the southern horizon, or they are painted deep inside caves, shielding the artist from the open sky. Why? Because this plasma column wasn't just bright, it was radioactive. It was emitting lethal amounts of UV and X-ray radiation. The people who stood out in the open to watch it, they died. They died of radiation sickness. The only ones who survived to draw it were the ones who hid in the caves, the ones who used the rock as a shield. This is why the art is in the caves, not because they lived there, but because it was the only place where they were safe. We are a civilization with amnesia. We look at the blue sky today, calm and quiet, and we assume that it has always been this way. We assume that the sun is a steady, reliable clock. We assume that space is a vacuum. But the zero-point law, etched in stone by the survivors of the last apocalypse, tells us a different story. It tells us that the universe is electric, that it is violent, and that it is unpredictable. The squatter man is not a doodle. It is a warning. A warning that the sky can change, that the gods can return. And if Dr. Peratt is right, we are overdue for another light show. Here at Zero Point Lore, we do not accept the official story that our ancestors were primitive. We believe they were witnesses. If you want to explore the forbidden science that connects our past to our future, subscribe to this channel, join the investigation, and tell us in the comments, do you believe the ancients saw a plasma apocalypse? Or do you think there is another explanation for the squatter man? Look at the sky tonight and be thankful that it is silent.